welcome back to the channel. On this episode, we're going to dive into a little bit of tech. An M4 MacBook Air and some thermal pads. This is the MacBook that I have been using to edit the videos. Today, we are going to thermal pad mod it because I have noticed some time that it's taken to export some of these videos. I use a Ugreen 40 gigabyte per second NVMe storage drive enclosure. So this thing is blazing fast. It gets hot. I've got a 3D printed case that I've been testing out. It's kind of just supports it. And then I have a fan that's going to draw air over it. It has a fan built in, but this thing gets piping. And with that, I noticed that we start off strong and then things kind of slow down. So I started obviously getting on Google and YouTube and found all the thermal pad mod videos. So that's something that we can definitely do here on the channel. So again, this won't be a how-to. This will just be how we did. And I'm using AirHut thermal pad. I believe that's how you're going to say that. So 1mm, that's what everybody on YouTube has been saying to use is 1mm. So I'll make sure to have a link to this below. So for now, I'm going to get this shut down so that there's no power going to anything for the most part. And with that said, if you're watching this video, it means I didn't break it. And if you're not, well, you wouldn't know either way. All right, so that's off. We'll kind of denote everything hinge side, and that way we'll kind of keep up with a little bit that we can. I'm going to use my iFixit Pro kit because I don't have the LTT precision screwdriver set. And I have this. It wasn't out whenever I bought my screwdrivers. I got a normal and a short one. And I have still yet to get over to my customer's house to get my other bit. I'm missing my Phillips bit for this screwdriver. I believe this is a P5. Let's just double check that. Yep, that is correct. So we'll start by taking out these P5 screws. And because I know it'll only be the 4 screws, everything else is held on with clips, I'm just going to keep these quadrant. So I'll just put them in the 4 quadrants of where they go based on the layout hinge away from me. I do like that there's only 4 screws holding this in. Bolts, screws, it's got threads. Call it what you want. They are different. So the ones on the hinge side have a longer collar, so to speak. So less threads than the ones furthest from the hinge. So that will keep those in check. We're going to need, we'll start with this. That's what everybody else uses. Find an area to sneak under. Yeah, that there will work. Now I'm told, the videos showed there's going to be some popping. Might sound a little uncomfortable for your computer, but should be okay. So it should be 1 tab here, 2 tabs here, 1 tab here. Yep, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the 4 tabs, don't just yank it off. These aren't tabs in the general sense. They're more of a slot in. So the idea behind this is you're going to have to pull it to yourself or away from the hinge. Yeah, there we go. That's not too bad. Just got to get your fingers underneath it. And it kind of just pulls away. And that's the inside. Nice. Again, we're going to keep working hinge away so that we orientate for yourself and us. So we have our ribbon cable for our trackpad. And it's kind of back and forth on what the YouTube people have been doing, whether or not they cover that with thermal pad or don't. I don't see a difference in how any of it's going to matter. But I'm also not qualified to give you the determination on whether it matters. Apple will say, don't do this. They're the only ones qualified to know. And I should have had this opened already. I didn't prep for the video. I did have to clean the table off. So while I work on this, let's talk about the MacBook itself. My wife had a M2 MacBook Air that she used about a year and a half ago. Well, she got it before then, but a year and a half ago, she got done with college for her bachelor's degree and used her M2 just less and less and less. She doesn't need it for work, and at home, we don't typically do much sitting around on the computer. I do more than anybody else simply because I'm doing 3D printing, designing something to 3D print, or I'm researching something that I'm working on, pinball machine wise, arcade machine wise. Just make sure that that was it. So as far as the household goes, I spend the most time on the computer. So this is our thermal pad. Both sides right now have protection on it, and it's not just gonna go on there. We're gonna have to cut it down a good bit. All of this, these two and this, are battery. So this whole thing here is battery. There is what looks to be, honestly, it looks like a heat pipe. Looks like there's a expander type for heat dissipation between the batteries and the motherboard. Now, from what I understand, this is really where the silicon chip is. So this is where we're trying to pull the heat from the most. So I think maybe we'll start there. And all I'm going to do is mark this. I'm just going to try to kind of mark that, and then I may use, let's see, not quite long enough. I'm just going to use something here to give me a little bit better time for a straight edge. And I'm being more precise than what you have to be. Oh no, I scratched it. So that will kind of fit there. I think I'm just going to cover the ribbon. It's just a ribbon. And that might actually fit out pretty good there. So I'm not going to have any before and after test for speed. There's plenty of that out on YouTube. This isn't a tech channel, so to speak. Well, technically it is, but you get the gist. So if you want to know all the statistics, well, we're not to that point yet. I might have some left over in it. I actually don't think you're going to get much heat transfer on this side because you could tell the whatever the screws are holding down here, there's an air gap between this cover and those screws. We're going to put some stuff there anyway. And we'll use this to fill in gaps. And not sure if the loose side down or this side down is best. Probably peel this because this is a thicker backing here. We'll probably pull the blue side. That'll give us a little more control, I think. So let's see. Not a good way to do this. I want to be right up to that speaker. Okay. So anyway, I was talking about the computer, right? So my wife used an M2 MacBook Air to get her bachelor's degree, and it just kind of sat around, used it every now and then. Come on. And then when I started kind of doing this YouTube a little bit, I was having issues getting content to edit. I was struggling on the editing side. Felt like I'm struggling with laying this down. Oh, come on. There we go. So I record, and I still do currently record off of an old iPhone. I think it's a iPhone 8. It's maybe 12. I don't know what it is. And codec wise, I was having some issues getting to be able to edit the stuff. The softwares I were using, some would kind of work, others didn't like the HEIV, whatever it is. And she just said, well, try my computer. You know, it's a MacBook, so it's this ecosystem. It should work. So I got it, and, you know, it was like drag and drop. That's bad analogy on how editing is, because it's not drag and drop. You can drag and drop in post, sure, but there's a lot more to it than that, and I'm not good at it, as you can tell by my previous videos. I'm still learning a lot. But what that showed me was using the iPhone kind of dictated that if I stayed in that product family, I was going to have an easier time. So I started using her M2 MacBook and edited, I think, first couple videos. And I was out and about after work one day where I'm doing a project at work, so I wasn't working my normal schedule, and was near Best Buy, and I just like to hop in sometimes and see what they got in the open box and stuff like that. When I went in, they had the M4 MacBooks for $799, and then they had a little sign that says, sell us your MacBook or trade in your MacBook or whatever it was. And I had it with me, and I said, well, what do you give me for this? It's an M2 base, 8 gigabyte, 256 gigabyte hard drive, MacBook Air M2. There's nothing wrong with it. We've taken good care of it. And they said $450. I don't think that's a bad, because I'm going to get double the RAM. I should have got the 512 hard drive for the faster speed, because 256 to 512 is like double the speed, but I stayed with the 256. I've got a terabyte drive in this. I've got another NVMe enclosure that is only 10 gigabytes a second, so I can buy a slower speed NVMe and put into that. And really, 10 gigabytes a second is faster than, hell, it's faster than anything else I've been working with all these years. So I do all of my editing off of this, all of my Final Cut Pro libraries, all of my video, all of my content, everything is on external drives. I got some non-NVMe drives that I'll put stuff on. That way, not everything's wrapped up in one basket. So the only thing the hard drive in here does is apps and the Final Cut Pro plugins, which is, I think the one I got, it's like 28 gigs total, which is a ton. I'll never use all of it, but I'll have it if I need it. If I get good enough at editing, I will have it. So that's kind of how I ended up, dropped it. Luckily, it landed on the plastic. So that's how I ended up with the M4 MacBook Air. I just kind of walked in. They had it on sale for $800. Said they'd give me $450 for my old one, or my wife's old one. She wasn't very happy about that. She was like, "You sold my MacBook?" I'm like, well, I mean, I'm using it now. But yes, it's still yours, and yes, I sold it. She was fine with it, but it was just I didn't tell her about it. I just kind of did it, which isn't the best thing to do. These are like Wi-Fi antennas, maybe, I think. I'm not sure. They're of a certain color, goldish. So the only thing else really to put some on is this. So I may skip that. I don't know. I'll just do this. We'll do this here. We'll call it a day on that. I've always just worked with what I had. I got a computer in the garage, the shop. I think it's 2008 or something. It's old enough I had to go into the BIOS to be able to put Windows 11 in it. I had to go in and change some of the BIOS settings. It's not going to edit a video with any kind of grunt, that's for sure. A couple years ago, I built a computer that's more capable. It's got a AMD 5600G processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and a AMD 6750 XT GPU. So it's capable of editing. I was just having issues with software side of getting something that would edit codecs and everything I had. And of course, I was trying to do it for free. I had to give that up and choose. So we're just going to make sure this sits down here pretty good before we take this off, because we don't want high spots, so to speak, to bulge out this back. So we should be ready here. Keyword should be, maybe don't press as hard as I did. Maybe I seated it more to the thermal pad. Come on, buddy. There you go. Let's try another one. Just take your time with this. These thermal pads are delicate. Once you can get it to kind of start going, it'll go. You just curl on me. I don't want that. I want it to be as flat as possible. And honestly, might have been better to have the blue side up. If that's in one of the videos, I didn't pay attention to that part.
Anybody want to solder something?
Woo! Scared the crap out of me. I did not know that was doing that. that has modded code on it. See how it's lifting? We'll see if it sits right. I hope it does. Looks like it's stretching on me. Yep. It's always something. Always something. Always something. Yeah, we'll figure it out. This side's a little plastic part, a little crunched. Might be better to use this. Yeah, it gives better results. It's less stretching. It's basically what I did to that is 1 millimeter and I stretched it. So a little bit of that's going to be less than 1 millimeter, but it'll be fine. Well, my little phone ran out of storage. So now I'm on the current phone that I have, which is an iPhone 12 or 14. Again, I don't know. So if you see an improvement in quality of the video, it's just a newer phone. I don't think you're going to notice anything though. So I heard the ding from the phone, so you didn't miss anything here. So we got the plastic off of that. We will cut this one slightly, do a better job. And actually use this. Yep. That's where I stretched that one out. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say, take the clear plastic off, leave the blue on, put it down, and then just take the blue off, because the blue comes off really, really, really easy. And I'm sure that some YouTuber tells you all that. I didn't pay enough attention. I saw the 4 screws, you just pop it off. I'm like, gosh, we're good there. We got it from there. Technically we do, but it's not going to be as smooth as it could have been. But our transition there is fine. And this little one here is probably going to be the worst one. Yeah. So here I just worry about this transition joint. So I'm just going to lop that off. That way I don't have anything. I don't want anything to push higher than we want it to. And that there, I'm sure I could put this somewhere, make a difference. This is going to be plenty enough for what I do. So we'll move that back hinge side away. And we will, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this very well, but these are those little hooks. You got to hook them in and then you can seat everything. Okay, I see the little, pretty cool design. And these are the screws you're trying to hook. So we're going to have to do some finagling here. Got that side. It doesn't feel like it's correct. We're going to look at the, so I'm kind of looking for bulging. So comparing this edge and this edge, it looks very flat. So I believe we got it. Yeah. So now we can kind of take a look, see. Kind of feel like we missed this one. No, I don't think we did. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. There's definitely no gaps. So again, hinge away. We'll just use our quadrants. And again, turn left until I can feel it, the screw seat. There we go. If you've seen some of my other videos, I have some good examples of where you can actually hear a larger screw seat into the threads and then you won't cross thread it. In this scenario, it's more of a feel. You kind of heard that one, maybe. I don't know that I hooked that right yet. The good thing about this is the 4 tabs and 4 screws. I mean, if I just want to pop it off and check it, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe you heard that one. Yeah, I think I'm just being, it doesn't even look wavy, but Obviously the hinge has some gapping there. It's just so it can open. You're not gonna be able to make this out in the video, but there's a mesh point where this back seats against the frame, and it's fully closed. So well, that's a good sign, right? I need to clean it. Really do need to clean it. And backgrounds. I haven't found what I like for backgrounds. So, I mean, well, there's nothing else to really show you there. It works. It didn't unplug anything that would make it not work though. So really the part is, I don't ever sit with this on my lap, ever. I have 3D printed little risers, so it kind of sits at an angle. So that there will help dissipate some of that heat. This area should heat up a whole lot more now. So this will be something that takes some of that heat away from the CPU. I've got some fan setups that I've kind of 3D printed and put some fans in that will blow air kind of over. I've got one of those piezoelectric coolers on the way from AliExpress. I'll kind of give that a go and see if it does anything different. The biggest thing that I've noticed as far as speeds, once I started additionally cooling this with a fan, the transfer speeds for large, talking 70, 80 gig, 150 gig files. So if I do like a series, I think my Tales from the Crypts, the whole footage, everything was about 140 gigs. So editing off of this and moving all that back and forth, this thing does get really, really warm. And putting the additional air movement over this, the transfer speeds don't drop at all, but this thing just stays a lot cooler. All the throttling comes from the MacBook. So now this will get some of that heat away from that. It'll extend that life before throttle, and then we'll just use cooling to keep the heat away from the batteries. Thanks for joining us today here on Behind the Coil. A little bit aside, I'll start a series for tech stuff, and there's plenty more we're going to get. Some of the stuff that we'll do is tech related, whether it's vintage audio receivers. Any of this is really tech, but tech in the general of YouTube is more phones, computers, stuff like that. So we're going to cover a wide gambit of things here on the channel. This is just one foray into that area, that realm. If there's something you'd like to see a little bit more of a practical approach to, not a how-to, just a regular person, not an overly sophisticated, just a regular person doing regular things, maybe not a regular thing, but you get the gist. Leave a comment, please subscribe. We're going to try and grow this channel. We're not aiming for the stars or anything like that. This is just more documentation of what you could do using YouTube or other avenues for information. Don't think that you can't do something. The only way you can't do it is to not do it. You may fail. That's okay. You learn from failure. Get out there, find something you love, keep at it. We'll see you next time.